This verse is a reminder that I think I have already expressed a lot throughout my videos, but I think it's important to mention it once again. And it is the fact about how do we reach to God? Is it by our works? Is it by God's grace? Is it by works plus our faith in God? What is the way to reach to God? And I think this passage is going to be enlightening to you because it's one of the passages that we don't often quote to show salvation by God's grace through faith that is not from ourselves, but is a gift from God. And that passage is in Mark chapter 7, which is verses 20 through 23. And a little bit of context is that Jesus is answering the Pharisees in this passage in the first 13 verses. In the first 13 verses, the Pharisees are kind of confronting him and they're saying, hey, your disciples aren't washing their hands before they eat food. They're not doing the spiritual cleansing, right? They're not doing the commandment that God commands to do. And Jesus kind of scolds them because even by their own traditions, they followed their own traditions and traded away for God's command. So even on their own terms, they also do the same thing. They don't follow God's command perfectly. And then when we read from verses 14 through 23, we see that the disciples are asking him, what did you mean by saying those kinds of things? And Jesus says, do you not understand what I was saying? And he explains it more. He talks about how when we eat food and we consume it, that's not changing the way we think, our mind, our heart. The thoughts that come out of us actually starts from the heart. The problem with the Pharisees were that they were starting from a point of works and saying, yes, that is how we reach to God. That is how I become right with God. But Jesus is kind of flipping it and he's saying, no, it starts from the internal heart change first. First, he has to change our hearts. Repentance, a change of mind, a change of heart, not thinking in the way we're doing, thinking in God's way. And then that is how we can do good works for God. He even says that that do not perceive whatever goes into a man from outside cannot defile him, because it does not go into his heart, but into his stomach, and then goes into the sewer. And then from verses 20 through 23, he says, Jesus was saying, that which proceeds out of the man, that is what defiles the man. For from within, out of the heart of man, proceed the evil thoughts, sexual immoralities, thefts, murders, adulteries, coveting, wickedness, deceit, sensuality, envy, slander, pride, and foolishness. Verse 23, all these evil things proceed from within and defile the man. Jesus is switching the perspective and how we think. We often think that if I do this many works, then that is going to change me. But no, Jesus is saying, no, the way to change is by him first, and then that's how you change. The way to change is when God transforms your heart of stone and gives you a new heart. Because if your heart is not transformed, you're going to be producing these evil thoughts. This verse just told us that evil thoughts come out of where? The heart. It doesn't come out from the works we do, it comes out of the heart. And so what needs to be happening in our lives? We need to ask God for a heart change. Lord, transform my life every day. Even if you are a Christian, sometimes there are parts in our life that are still hardened, and we need to ask God to allow his light to open up those parts of our heart where there is darkness. And so my prayer for you today is that you will ask God, when you pray, ask God, God, change my heart, change my thoughts from thinking in these evil, wicked thoughts, as mentioned in verse 21, into a more righteous kind of thinking centered around you. We are so self-centered in this world, thinking about us, but what does God want from us? I hope this video blessed you. On that note, take care and God bless.